All right, settle an argument I'm having with myself. I think the one voice in my head says that if I'm going to do an illustration of a guy that's being possessed by demons, I have to have him swiveling his head around 360 degrees. The other voice in my head says that if I do that, he's not looking at the speaker and it's kind of dumb. So, do I have him swiveling his head around 360 degrees or floating 6 feet off of his bed? Which would be easier to draw? And this is why I will never go back to pen and ink, because I can just gray that out, draw a bed in there, and see how they both look. Oh, is there? Ugh. What am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? Beep, beep, beep. Maybe I should listen to what I'm doing. You ever think of that, Geiger? Did you ever think of that? The output should be through the Logitech, and the inputs through the Logitech. It shouldn't be echoing. Okay, the sound's coming through my headphone, and the sound should be going out through the mic. Oh, hold on, hold on. Here's the thing, though. I bet you I've got it. Hold on. Let me. Oh no, I wonder if it's because I've got YouTube open. But if I've got YouTube open and I close it, I'm not gonna be able to see you because you're not coming up in Google Hangouts. You're coming up through. Uh, you're coming up through the YouTube. There's unmute. Now I can hear. Now I can hear what I think you're hearing. Oh man. Well, I'm afraid I'm gonna have to mute my mic until Just out of curiosity, did that take care of the echoing situation? Aha! So there's no, I had the Patreon page open that had the link in it, but the uh, the Patreon page was, I didn't hit play on it. It was just the preview. But that must have been what was causing the echo. That's been sitting here bothering me ever since. Yay! Well, okay. So here's the deal. I tend to work quietly. That's why I rarely do live draws, is because I feel like I should be saying something and I'm not saying anything. And then I get anxious and I'm like, oh, I should be saying something. And then I'm not saying anything. And the more I'm not saying anything, the more I think I should be saying something. And well, you see how that goes. So I tend to work a little bit quietly. But I kind of wanted to do something a little extra for my Patreon backers for a while now. And this kept coming up as a possibility. And so I thought I'd give it another shot. And so here I am. And so I did one earlier in the week, and I had my stereo playing in the background because I thought, oh, that'll be nice. I'll listen to Halloween music. That'll be great. And it was great for what it was. But then I also wanted to be able to use the video to chop up and do tutorials for my webcomics.com backers and maybe for Comic Lab Patreon backers. That's a podcast I do. And so I thought, oh, maybe I'll chop it up. And so I was waiting for the video to drop after I finished the live draw. I'm waiting and I'm waiting. Finally, I go over to YouTube and I see that I have about, oh God, 36 copyright violations. For each one of the songs that played in the background, they actually have, I don't know, a robot or something, they program the notes in, or more likely the sound waves. And if somebody's playing music that falls under copyright, which is fair, I mean, I'm an artist, I get it. They say, no, you can't do that. Or at least you can't run ads. There's weird stuff that happens one way or the other. But yeah, so I wasn't able to post that. So when I did this one, I decided that I would either play classical music that would be harder to track, or I would just sit quietly. and Spotify was slowing my Mac down, and I was getting a little lag, and it's like, nah, you know what? I can just work quietly. So that's what's up. But later on, since I won't have any copyright note, hopefully I won't have any copyright things. Excuse me, I shouldn't have done that in the mic. I got to learn to stop doing that. Hopefully I won't have any copyright notifications, and I'll be able to post this right on the Patreon page, and then I might like take different places and do tutorials from it. There's all kinds of stuff I think I might want to do. If you look at the tabs in the top, yeah, I know. I know where my sound was coming from. The problem was I had 3 different tabs open with the same sound coming through. Does that make sense? I had my YouTube page, I had my Google Hangouts, and I had the Patreon page. And evidently it was that Patreon page that was causing the echo, because when I got rid of that, then I was good to go again. Oh, is that right? Oh, God, I'm glad I asked. Good Lord. Well, okay, no music from me then. Listen, I can I can easily get around that. Oh, wow. My son's doing an internship. I just got a photo and he is living life large, working with a theater group, and he's loving every minute of it. And they're putting him right in. They're giving him like real stuff to do. There, you know what? I think turning the head, all I had to do was have that guy turn with his head backwards and put the guy on the other side of the bed. I'm gonna have to work out my word balloons, but I think that's the composition. Here's the bad thing about my doing podcasts and books and webcomics.com and places where I, share some experience, what little I have with people on how to type stuff. Anybody from webcomics.com that just watched the last 15-20 minutes is probably screaming that I should have been thumbnailing those pages before I started drawing them. And they're right. And they're right. It would have saved me a lot of time. I tried to take a shortcut because my schedule is going to bunch up later on tonight, and I want to get this stuff over to Alex so she can color it. And I was trying to take some shortcuts, and you see what happened. Guy needs to just be a little bit bigger, doesn't he? Luckily, inking tends to go a little faster. All right, so yeah, I need to find some royalty-free music. You're right. We do have a Discord server. So here's the deal about the Discord server. Oh, and you please forgive me because I'm if I don't answer your question for a little bit. I'm looking up and down and everything. But so here's the deal. I've got a Discord server for Evil Link After Dark. I don't know what the hell to use it for. We've got an Evil Link we've got a Discord server for Comic Lab, and people talk back and forth about it. They're all cartoonists and stuff. That's kind of neat. And I do have a Discord server for After Dark. So are you saying that I could do this kind of live draw deal on, and I'm sorry, I sound like an old dummy. Are you saying that I can set this up this same way using Discord? Then that settles it. I've been looking for a use for that Discord server for Evil Link After Dark because I got nothing, and I set it up there. So next time, maybe I'll do that next time. Oh, I've got one more visual gag I want to try to put in here, and it just might not get shoehorned. I want him to have books on his nightstand like 101 Ways to Insult a Priest to just really bring the exorcism thing through. I don't know that I'm going to be able to do that. I can have him holding the book, but then I've got that old cartoonist problem. Oh, no. The old cartoonist problem is whenever somebody needs to put a title on a book, inevitably the way they're facing means the title would be on the back cover. But because I have this guy facing the other way anyway, he's actually facing the right way for a book. See if I can have a chance. 101 ways to Yeah, I'll be able to do that lettering. It's a big book, but then again, there's a lot of priest insults out there. How about a poster? You can stream this on Discord and allow people to chat voice with you. Now, technically, you should be able to do that on Google Hangouts because this is a Hangout. But for some reason, when people follow the link, they're going over to YouTube. So, okay, that's it. You've given me a challenge. I'm going to do this on Discord next time. How about a poster? Man, I'm telling you. Okay, uh, uh, what kind of poster would you like to see? My readers have never traditionally supported posters. Hmm. And I can do them so easily on Redbubble because then it means I don't have to ship them. And the printing is really nice. They do the Evelink calendars every year, and I love them. The printing is super, super nice. So the question is, what would you want to see by way of a poster? Let's see. Let's see. How do I send you to where? I think that's right. No, it's manage portfolio. I want to see, I want to show you my portfolio. Well, how do I do that? Man, I'm telling you, I'm feeling really old. Like all this stuff that should be simple. I'm really I just coming up with nothing these days. Redbubble Studio Geiger, I'll bet. Nope, not the Lost Cause. Fiddle-dee-dee. Dashboard, favorites, order history, bubble mail, accounts that add new work, manage portfolio. Okay, maybe I'll go the long way around. Doodly doo. What's the current status? Okay, the Under New Management book. That's a good question. It is. It was on a slow boat from China, and now it's on a slow truck from New York City to Philadelphia. The ETA is October 25th. Hopefully it's no later than that because I'm going down to a Patreon convention November 1st. So if it comes after the 31st, I'm going to have to push it back a few days, but it's going to be here by the end of October, beginning of November, and then I'll be shipping those things out like a madman as soon as they get in because I'm getting to the point where people are going to be a little bit justifiably peeved at me if I don't get them their books. The Sexorcist. Yeah. Man, oh man. Do I dare do sexy nuns? I don't know. Hey, listen, I'm 49. I'm staring down the barrel of 50. All right, next time I'm going to do this on Discord. So, because it can't be any harder than what I've been doing on Google. And I've been dying to figure out. It kills me when people sign up for that Discord server and it's just a wasteland. What else do we need on that nightstand? He needs a book. He needs a couple books, doesn't he? Needs an alarm clock. Excuse me, I don't mean to burp into the mic. That's gross. Does he need a can of pea soup? Oh, cool. I will take you up on that. Are you, without outing you, are you the same Nicholas that I think you are? Upside. Somebody just, now, somebody just wrote in upside down cross. You know, I never know how far I can push things religiously. Uh, because I was raised Catholic. I know how serious some people take their religion, and that's cool. But I honestly thought I was going to get in trouble for this. I thought I was going to catch hell when the old vampire said that those were the worst tasting thin mints ever. Because technically he's referring to unconsecrated hosts, but they're unconsecrated, so there's no sacrilege going on there. But I was prepared for people to be upset anyway. If they were consecrated as a vampire, then he'd be dead. That's the rules. But yeah, I never know how far. But I might just put a little hint of an upside down cross back there. That's not a bad idea at all. I've got a Nicholas that I go back and forth with on commissions quite a bit. Different Nicholas. Okay. Does a cross work on a Jewish vampire? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. You know that old joke, right? The three nuns are driving down the street in their car, and a Dracula jumps up on the hood of the car, and he says blah blah, and the one sister says to the other, she says, "Oh my God, it's a vampire! What do we do?" And the other lady says, "Show him your cross." And the lady rolls down the window and shakes her fist out the car and says, "Get off of our goddamn car, you stupid vampire!" That's the worst thing about telling jokes in an empty room. I just sit here and laugh to myself like a crazy person. Oh, Geiger, now you painted yourself into a corner with these word balloons. God damn it. Beep, 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 beep. You know what? That's not funny enough to stay. It's not funny enough to make the cut, so off it goes and solves a problem. Editing on the fly. Yeah, I'm good at the dad jokes, man. I come by that naturally. Doodle-doo, doodle-doo. And this is why I will never ever go back to inking on paper. I love working digitally because I can move this stuff around. And solve all kinds of anatomy problems as they pop up. Dad joke barrier. Good luck. Good luck. Not a barrier yet I haven't been able to break. I'm being repossessed. Nope. Better the other way. I mean, I'm a little behind on my chanting. You're 3 months behind. You got to pray on time. God, I hope that's funny. It's the other bad thing about doing this kind of stuff. This stuff, you never know what strikes somebody as funny, what strikes somebody else not as funny. Everything's funny when I write it. It's just sometimes it's not funny when I'm finished with it. Mm, yeah. Well, thank goodness I've got Alex for coloring because you do not want to see me color Evil Ink. It is not great. But yeah, the layers do help. For months afterward, Desi sent damn souls to occupy random stuff in my apartment. Damn soul sounds like I'm saying they're damn souls of the damned. It's wordier, but it's better. Fantasy. Oh, that's beautiful. I'm gonna torture my kids with that tonight. My now, and I've got the good follow up. I had a terrible dream myself last night. I dreamt all night I was eating this huge marshmallow. I woke up and my pillow was gone. Nothing like having a poltergeist. Yeah, haunting a Buddy Jesus statue, huh? Well, I've got a scene in mind where like she sends the souls of the damned uh randomly to just start occupying stuff in Lightning Lady's apartment. So like if she opens up something with a can opener, it starts screaming in pain, which I think would be kind of disconcerting. Something that you squeeze that's not toothpaste. In the bathroom. That's not on you. What could she be squeezing? Yeah, I was thinking about that. I was thinking about that for an after dark side thing where she's got like a haunted dildo. I am thinking about that. Shampoo. Well, she's not in the shower. I bet that's the other thing. I'm leaving myself so little room to do this final joke. Shampoo, hair gel works. Hair gel works. God, I was just thinking. Anybody walking outside of my studio probably thinks I'm like they probably are hearing the ravings of a madman. He's just in there repeating the word hair gel over and over. Toilet paper, yeah. Here's a great tip I picked up. You want to figure out where the elbow is. You draw a straight line between the shoulder and the wrist. Find the midway point. Draw a parallel line, and you know the elbow is easily going to fit somewhere on that line. What a great tip. That's right, I do. I don't suffer from insanity, but the people around me might. I picked that up from a guy named Jesse Ham, who's on Twitter. In fact, I supported his Patreon for a little while. That's all he does is art tips. And that one I ended up using an awful lot. Another Patreon. Boy, that can be such a chewy word. Another patron on Patreon is saying that she can have possessed zippers. That would be kind of funny. They're always either zipping up or zipping down at awkward times. We got to make that look more squeezy. Yeah, Nicholas, do that. Drop me a line so I know which Nicholas you are. Who's my new nemesis? Oh, hey, awesome. Now, wait, holy cats, that's awesome. Let me send you your official welcome email. That's got a bunch of information on getting the most for your pledge. Did you sign up just just because you heard about this live draw? Why did you sign up today? Oh, I didn't get rid of the $50 tier. Don't scare me like that. It's still there. It better be still there. It's still there. It's just I set a limit on it. I set a limit because if I try like there's a bunch I owe yet for this month that I need to jump on. In fact, one that I did the sketch for, I'll probably be inking later on tonight. Yeah, sold out. So what that means is I've got 6 slots and they're all taken. But if they open up, I'll put a word out on Patreon and let you know that you can fill the slot. But no, I might open it up to a 7th. I just don't want to get into a situation where I've got too many and I'm always running behind on people. And this month is going to get nuts in October and November because I will be fulfilling those book orders, and I do all that myself. So it's going to get kind of busy, but maybe in December or something, I'll open that up. Oh, is that right? It's public. I thought I made it unlisted. Well, I'm glad I didn't because I just gained a backer. That's cool. Holy cats. That's amazing. So where are you from? Oh, everybody who's in that, by the way, that was a that was an open-ended where are you from? Just to know who I'm talking to here for anybody that's listening. Oh, nice. Oh, and in the UK. God dang, that's cool. I got to visit London once. I loved every minute of it. We were near the Earl's Court stop on the train system. I'm not using the right words. I'm sorry, but we were near Earl's Court, and there was a place that sold Cornish pastries. No, like the meat pies. Holy Christ, was that ever good? Oh man, it was just this little dopey place next to the subway stop, and I'd be down there every morning. They thought that I was nuts. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Nick. Listen, anytime somebody does a personal recommendation, that's worth 10 banner ads or promotions or anything else. That's huge. Kansas City. Nice. Is it getting cold out in Kansas City? Today was the first day I had to run my space heater in my studio. I try to get as close as November as possible before I turn my furnace on at home because I'm like, I'm not turning that furnace on. We've been running the air conditioner all summer long. They are the sound you're hearing in the background is they just started vacuuming out in the hallway uh, in the building I've got my studio in. God, I gave her some broad shoulders, didn't I? Exactly. Exactly. Whoever that is out there going, oh my God, he's talking to himself again. It's that crazy guy. Okay, so to my new backer, I send out these little video greetings now. It's something I've been doing for the last few months. I send out video greetings, so you'll have to tell me how I'm doing on that. But listen, I want to make sure I pronounce your name right. So can you type in a pronunciation so I don't do my usual stupid job? I want to say Hikaru. The impulse being from the Midwest is to say Hikaru, but I know that's not right. Hikaru is probably closer. Am I right? No, you asshole, he says, and he goes and he cancels his pledge. Oh yes. Oh no, it's Hikaru. Hikaru. Okay, I got to remember that because I'm going to send you a little video greeting welcoming you to Patreon too. There's this whole thing I do. Uh, a man, an automobile, and a kangaroo. Hikaru. That I can. You've had to explain that to a lot of people in Kansas City. I can tell. Oh God, another one of these guys. All right, it's like a man, a car, a kangaroo. Japanese, the Japanese the I is almost always pronounced as a long E. Oh, that's good to know. Will I ever consider using the Opposite Universe Justice Inc. again? Well, yes and no. Uh, I found that got a little bit confusing, so I didn't. But you'll notice that now the institution that Cap works for is called Justice Incorporated because they had to incorporate. So I kind of brought that part over a little bit. But in terms of having like a topsy turvy world where the good guys are bad guys and the bad guys are good guys, I I don't know. I would never say never, but I don't have any immediate plans to do that. Hey, thanks for stopping by, Nick. People do call me Hikaru. Yep. God damn it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that. But I point out I don't live in the deep south. Good to have a sense of humor. Off to dinner. Probably some kind of cool United Kingdom dinner. Probably going to Earl's Court to get one of those Cornish pastries. Got them all tasted up for it. So, what's my favorite comics to read? Okay, somebody just turned me on to My Hero Academia. So, I am going to give that a try. And aside from that, I got to be honest with you, I haven't read a whole lot of like mainstream comics in a long time. They rebooted they rebooted me out. I I got to a point where I couldn't follow them anymore. I didn't know who was who or what the characters were. So I don't read mainstream comics so much. And then the people I tend to follow with any kind of regularity are people that I know from comics, and I kind of check in on their work. Like Bug Martini is a really good comic strip, Al comic. That guy has a hitting percentage in terms of his jokes just being solid jokes time after time. Uh, he's unbelievable. And Dave Kellett, I keep up with his stuff because I've known him for going on 20 years now. And we do a podcast together. But even more than that, I just find his work delightful. So I keep up with Dave. But no, I'm kind of ashamed to admit I don't read as many comics as I would kind of like to. I end up a lot of my time is doing this. So I tend not to have a lot of time to read comics, at least. Right now, I'm making my way through the Dresden Files, which is a series of novels about a wizard, and it's a really good fantasy world building that the author has built up. But we were just doing a podcast with a fantastic artist. Her comic is called Check Please, and she suggested My Hero Academia. And she spoke so glowingly of it. I just went over to Amazon and ordered the first volume on the spot because she was waxing effusive over this thing. So I kind of want to get in and dive in and see if that is everything she says it is, which I'm sure it is. Girl power. Is that Dave Barrick, Dave is it girl with a bunch of R's? Because if it is, I know exactly who you're talking about, and it's a really good comic. I don't check it regularly, but I like binge read it every now and again to catch up. And you're right, it's a great comic. It's GRRL powercomic.com, right? Yep. Yeah, I know that guy. I've met him at a comic convention here and there. Super nice guy, from what I remember. And the art is solid. See, I get thrown by art, and I shouldn't, but I have a hard time reading a comic if I don't really like the art. Yeah, he's been doing that for a while now, hasn't he? That comic's been going on for years, I think. It's definitely got staying power. Yeah, 2010, man. Do you read a lot of web comics, or do you tend to read more quote unquote traditional comics? Suburban Jungle. Yeah, I know that guy too. I don't follow it regularly, but I've talked to the guy, and I think I've exchanged emails with him. As a matter of fact, really, really solid cartoonist. Oh, is that right? That's cool. On Patreon, somebody's throwing out the name of Girl Genius by the Folios, and I don't follow that one as closely as I should. But uh, Phil, I've known for years, and as a matter of fact, Phil was a big reason, a big part of my decision to do Evelink After Dark on Patreon. Nick, you ate quick. Yeah, Phil, I was really struggling with the idea of doing not safe for work stuff, and I went to New York Comic Con. In fact, it was last time I went to New York Comic Con, which was several years ago. And Phil was there, and I said, I really want to talk about this with somebody who understands what the hell I'm talking about, because Phil did a really, really good line of adult comics. And I said, I want to talk to you about what I'm thinking about getting myself into. And we went to an Indian food place down in Manhattan. And it was, Jesus, it seems like we were the only people there. It was not, it was not busy. And we sat there for hours. And he kind of, settled my fears, told me a bunch of stuff to expect. Uh, gave me some advice on handling subject matter and so forth. And yeah, by the time I left New York, I had made my decision that I was going to launch Evelink After Dark, and it has been the most popular thing I've ever launched by far. So I have a very warm spot in my heart for Phil, because he really took a long time with me and walked me through a lot of stuff. So I really appreciate that. Yeah, Phil's great. fact, we were just talking about Phil on the Comic Lab podcast because we were talking about attitude and everything. And Phil had a great line. There's a bunch. This was back when web comics were just starting out, and a bunch of us had started exhibiting at Comic Con International in San Diego, and we were kind of dragging ass a little bit and grumbling. This person had come up and said this, and that person had said that, and as you do, as you do at comic conventions, you start grumbling a little bit, and he goes, that's all well and good, but don't you let anybody hear you talking like that. I'm like, well, what's the harm gonna, certainly they know that it's not all, sunshine. He says, nope. He goes, yeah, that's where you're wrong. He says, when people come to see you at a comic convention, they want to know that you fart butterflies. And if you don't give them that, you're kind of cheating them because they spend a lot of money to come out. And if you're the person that they want to see, they don't want to hear that you've got a bellyache or that your head's not feeling right or that your hotel was loud or anything like that. They want to say hello and they want to talk about your comic. And he says it's your job to stand here for however many hours this convention is. He goes, it's kind of your responsibility to stand here and fart butterflies. And ever since then, whenever I did conventions, I always kept that fart butterflies rule in the back of my head. And then I'd go back to my hotel and I'd bellyache and piss and moan. Me, I'm in sunny Philadelphia. As you probably picked up, I, I don't have a Philadelphia accent. I grew up in Michigan, rural Michigan. Although all of Michigan is pretty rural, I grew up in a very rural area, which was nice. There was a lot that was good about that. You know, I'm not complaining, but it's also, it was a little bit limiting in terms of opportunities. So I immediately moved away as soon as I graduated college because there just wasn't much for me there. And so, of course, I wanted to be a cartoonist from an early age. And my college, I did a BFA degree, Bachelor of Fine Arts. And all of my work for my senior thesis was comics and cartoons. Although at that time, I was very much into political cartooning. I liked editorial cartoons that appeared in the newspaper. I liked Bloom County and Doonesbury an awful lot. And so they brought in, from the Detroit Free Press, they brought in a cartoonist, the editorial cartoonist for the Freep, whose name was Bill Day. And he kind of juried the senior show. And then we had dinner later, and I'm like, okay, how do I get a job? How do I get your job? How do I get a job as an editorial cartoonist? He says, well, he says, there's about 150 jobs. This was in 1991. He goes, there's about 150 jobs for editorial cartoonists in the United States. And they're all taken. And he says, we're all waiting for somebody at one of the good newspapers or even a better newspaper to die. And when that person dies, then we all move up one, and a space opens up at the worst newspaper in the United States that still hires an editorial cartoonist. And that's where you and about 1,000 other people just like you, that's where you're all going to fight to get in. And then you join the waiting game for somebody at a better newspaper to die. He said that's basically the career trajectory, is waiting for people to die. So and so he said, so here's what you do. You get a job at a good newspaper as an editorial artist, as a graphic artist in the news side, not the advertising side, because they tend to build a wall between those two, and for good reason. But they tend to build a wall between news and editorial. And if you come in from the ad side, they're never going to trust you. But if you come in as a news side graphic artist, then you'll have a really good job where you use your art skills, your graphic design and so forth. You'll have a good job, and you can submit editorial cartoons on the side, and they will be thrilled to have you, because now they might not be able to afford to have a full-time editorial cartoonist, but they'll be just absolutely thrilled to take something that you drew in your spare time, or maybe even give you some time during your shift to do it. And then they get an editorial cartoonist, and, everybody wins. And so that's what I did. I started looking through this magazine, a trade journal called Editor and Publisher, and it was just all about the newspaper industry. And at the time, This would have been the early '90s, and desktop publishing was just kind of getting started in places like newspapers, and color printing, believe it or not, was just becoming more widely used. And so graphic artists were being hired at newspapers left and right, especially ones that could work fast and ones who were, had usable skills. And usable for the most part meant knowing how to use Mac software. And that was me. I had exactly the skill set they needed. Plus, since I was just out of college, I was cheap. I was a easy hire in that respect because I was exactly what they wanted and I was cheap and I was ballsy as fuck. I found an ad in Editor and Publisher for a newspaper in Canton, Ohio. And I did exactly what all of the books said not to do because I hadn't read the books. And I called the editor in chief directly in his office. And I said, hey, I see you're looking for a graphic artist, and that's what I do. And it just so happens I'm going to be in Canton next Friday. And would you like me to drop my portfolio off? And he's taken aback for a second, and he goes, sure, you can drop your portfolio off. And I immediately made plans to be in Canton, Ohio by the next Friday. I was at that time living in Battle Creek, Michigan, where Kellogg's cereal is based. And I was doing an internship there. And so I immediately made plans to be down in Canton, Ohio the next Friday. And I showed up and talked myself into the building and dropped off my portfolio and started talking to people. And, things went really well. And I sent everybody thank you notes through the mail the next day before I left the Knights Inn over in Belden Village and made sure that they would get their thank you notes right away, and went home. And by the next week, they were on the phone with a job offer. And that's how I started in newspapers. I had just no fear, and no common sense either, but no fear. And so I got in there and I started working, and I found out that I had a real flair for infographics, diagrams and charts, stuff that newspapers were churning out like crazy because they finally realized in the 90s they were competing with TV, and that was a visual medium. And so them running a 70-inch story that went through page after page of gray text, people weren't going to read that. But if they paired that with photos and colorful informational graphics that would help tell the story, then they realized that they got a real response when they did that. And people actually read their stories. I shouldn't say actually, I'm sure they would have read them anyway, but there was a higher retention rate. So I found out I was really good at that. And of course, I do need to say the repository was a union paper, and I always worked at union papers, and I always got paid better and got better benefits than my friends that I had met through newspapers that weren't, for doing the same job. And it was good work. It was good benefits, and it was all art related. And I did cartoons on the side. Which was awesome. You know, it was such a great time. We were making this shit up as we went along, and the more I went down that road, the more I started doing infographics more and more, and cartoons less and less. And I started going to uh, newspaper design conventions. There was a group called SND, the Society for Newspaper Design, and I'd gotten really involved with that. And cartoons were getting less and less. And then it got to be about 1998, and I got I I got headhunted by the Philadelphia Daily News. They had seen my stuff probably through SND, and they wanted me bad. And it was tough because I had just interviewed with the Baltimore Sun, and we had gotten to the point where I put a deposit down for me and my fiance at the time for an apartment in Baltimore. And at the last minute, we had a disagreement about the contract. Basically, they said that a certain part of the contract was not going to be applied, and I said that that was a deal breaker, and they said they weren't going to change it. So I thanked them very much and went on my way. And I had gotten that far, and it was it was around this time of year. It was October, and or I should say September, early October. So I had gone to DEF CON 5 with these guys, and my wedding was coming up, and I didn't want to go through this whole process again with the Daily News that I had just gone through with the Baltimore Sun. So I told them no. I said, forget about it. Can't do it. And you've got to understand, the Philadelphia Daily News is a tabloid, and they were doing the greatest tabloid journalism ever. It was real news. It was solid news, but it was done with an attitude, or as they say here in Philadelphia, attitude. And since it was a tabloid, it was a smaller page size. So when I did a graphic, a lot of times I would take up the entire page or half a page. I'd have room. They wanted me to fill a page with a graphic, and they loved my illustrations, my cartoons. They loved cartoon illustration. It fit them perfectly. Where I had been working at that point, the Akron Beacon Journal, after I left the Canton paper, Akron Beacon Journal didn't like cartoons at all. So I didn't get a chance to draw there at all. And they already had an editorial cartoonist. But wow, news loved everything about what I was doing, and it was the perfect fit. And I sat there. They sent me a bunch of stuff about, like clips and articles from editor and publisher about what they were doing, and what kind of paper they were all about. And they had a columnist that was called the Phantom Strap Hanger, and the uh, he covered the subway system, the public transportation system, buses, and mass transit. And he was so feared by SEPTA, the public transportation agency, that um, he kept his identity secret, because if people knew who he was, uh, they, the story went, they would cause all kinds of trouble for him, because he was always exposing, wrongdoing, doing what newspapers are supposed to do, standing up for the people and exposing wrongdoing. And he was everything about that paper was perfect. And my wife, well, she wasn't my wife yet. She was my fiance. We're looking through all these pages, and she goes, "If you don't at least take the interview, I'm canceling the wedding." And I'm like, "Why?" And she said, "Because you'll be miserable, and you'll blame the wedding. You will have missed an incredible opportunity." She says, "You at least have to go down and take the interview." So I took the interview and just fell in love. Just fell in love with the newspaper. I mean, it was incredible. And I had a job offer by the end of the week. And with my wedding mere weeks away, I started a new job in Philadelphia. So I started in Philly for 2 weeks, during which they put me up in a hotel, hired a real estate agent to help me find an apartment. 2 weeks later, after my first day, I flew back to Ohio, got married, went on my honeymoon, and all this time, during my first 2 weeks, they sent a moving company over to Ohio. This was a very different time for newspapers, you guys. This was this was the late '90s, before newspapers had completely wrecked themselves. And they sent a moving crew over, and my wife supervised the move out from our apartment in Ohio. I came over, we got married, we went for our honeymoon down in Disney World. And while we were on honeymoon, my new boss at the Daily News was supervising the movers, moving the stuff in to my new apartment in Philadelphia. This guy that I didn't even know, hardly, except for a couple of weeks. He supervised the movers. He coming into and so we ended our honeymoon in Orlando, flew back to Philadelphia, where and while we're still in Orlando, he FedExes my new apartment keys to me, so that they show up at the Polynesian resort in Disney World. And then we flew back to Philadelphia, walked into our apartment, to an apartment full of boxes and furniture, and on top of two of the boxes that were right there by the entrance, a bottle of wine and a couple of glasses, and a note from him welcoming us to our new lives. And that's how we started in Philadelphia. And I loved it. It was a great job. I stayed at the Daily News until 2012. Oh, and Nicholas, I like you too much to subject you to my British accent. But if you listen to a podcast called Surviving Creativity, they made me try to do a British accent once, and it was not pretty. All right, you guys, I have to pull up stakes here so I can go home and get the kids ready for practice tonight. I'm doing dinner, and so they can get off to an early evening practice. So I'm going to put a pin in it there and ink the rest of this at home. Thanks for hanging out. Hikaru, thank you for being a backer. I'll be looking for you on Patreon. I'm thrilled that you're with us, and I hope you like everything you see there. And Nicholas and David, who's been hanging out over in Patreon, thank you for hanging out. And I'll be putting out a yeah, no, I won't do a mismatch, and I'll do another live draw probably maybe later this week or at the very least sometime early next week. All right. Oh yeah, and we'll see if we can do this on Discord next time. That's a good suggestion. All right, you guys. Bye bye.